gets his right hand, which can happen at the end of the game. Some breakdowns for us, one-on-one and shift defense. We didn't shift, and they scored too much in the paint late in the game. Very disappointing loss.
It always comes down to game plan discipline. LeBron's been a strong right-hand driver since he's came into the league 20 years ago or however long he's been in the league. And, he gets to his right hand, and, we got two guys on that side that are supposed to be in help, and, we didn't execute. And it's pretty much as simple as that. Game plan discipline, we needed it for 48 minutes, and it let us down.
Kendrick Perkins joining us now. So we heard from Desmond Bane, we heard from Taylor Jenkins, but I was standing in the hallway outside their locker room last night, and I watched Ja Morant walk by, and I watched Dillon Brooks walk by, and none of them spoke to reporters. That's after they've kind of been chattering. This is a team that builds themselves up with what they say publicly kind of all year long, Perk. So what do you make of this?
Well, Big Memphis is what they call themselves, but they have big problems. And I'm not talking about them on the verge of losing this series. They have bigger problems internally, the culture, the discipline. And we already know this is Dillon Brooks' second time avoiding the media, which I believe is a strong coward move. If you're going to talk that talk, and if you're going to be able to poke your chest out and have your glasses and your chain on when you win, you got to face the music when you lose. I have a problem with Ja Morant, though. With all he has been through this season, and for him to duck and avoid the media as the leader of the franchise guy, the guy that they gave the bag to that he earned, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, when I look at Ja, we were talking about him, just about a year and a half ago, a pace of the league. That has gone out the window. Now, all of a sudden, I'm looking at Ja, and his superstardom is in jeopardy. And when I say that, not because he's not going to deliver in great fashion, it's because he's going to make it where he's going to hurt his bankroll. We're talking about a guy that could make so much money outside of basketball, but because of his leadership and lack of professionalism, it's a problem. So if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, the entire organization, I can't wait for this season to be over with. It can't come fast enough so I can address every single problem that I need to address, including my leader, so-called leader, in Ja Morant.
Let me say this. Dillon Brooks, you can learn, and I'm not big on leading by example, right? LeBron James, we see him taking charges. We see him doing. He is a great example of a leader. I'm not going to talk about him as a player, and I'm not saying he is perfect, but I will say this. You can't talk the talk and then not walk the walk. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have a bad game and then go face it. Because when you win, everybody wants to talk when they win. They're sprinting to the podium. Everybody's up there. When you struggle, and that's really where you show your true character, Dillon Brooks, as much as we crack jokes, I love his fire. I love the energy. And honestly, Bron, when he was talking to him, was like, don't change. Keep that energy. Don't let nobody change. Keep that energy. Keep that. He likes it. There's no beef there. Bron's seen it all. He's heard it all. He's done it all. So if you're not going to talk to the media after 2 straight games, that to me is cowardice. And I don't believe either of them are cowards. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to avoid that smoke after talking the talk and being this, you can't avoid the media. That's something to me I just can't get on board with. Stand there, say we got to play better, but to have both stars, both guys, especially Dillon Brooks, that's just unacceptable.
Well, now the series, it shifts back to Memphis, and the good news, I guess, for Memphis is that the Lakers, they need to win in Memphis, and LeBron knows how difficult, closing out the Grizzlies can be. So, Zach, how are you viewing the rest of this series now?
It's just hard to imagine LeBron letting the Lakers lose 3 games in a row. I know they've got to win 1 on the road. Memphis has home court advantage. But the way LeBron is playing, the precision with which he plays, the way he can control games, it's just hard to imagine them going on a 3-game losing streak now. They have really found a nice balance as a team between LeBron on the ball, LeBron off the ball, letting Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell cook. And if I could, I want to shout out one guy who we don't talk about a lot.
Please.
Dennis Schroeder has done exactly what the Lakers need him to do. He hasn't shot it like gangbusters this year from 2 or 3, but he's not taking anything off the table. He's not forcing it. He's defending Ja pretty well in this series when that's his job. He's a pretty cagey screen setter for LeBron when they want to hunt small guys on pick and rolls. He's just another guy, kind of a forgotten guy, who's come and done his job and made those second units or those hybrid smaller units with LeBron at the floor, made them work. The Lakers right now, they're pushing every right button. They're going to be a tough out, and it's hard to imagine them not winning this series.
The Lakers lead this series 3-1. Next, it shifts back to Memphis. Game 5 is Wednesday, and it's going to be fun. Guys, I can't believe we are, 15 minutes into the show?
Come on now. It's time.
It is time. Perk said it was a 56-piece wing dinner, all flat and air fried.
Okay.
I mean, I know he's
put up 56, tied for the 4th highest ever in a playoff game to rally the Heat from down 14 in the final quarter to win 119-114 and take a 3-1 series lead. Butler's 56 was a Miami playoff record. Jimmy, talk to me.
I love the competitive aspect of it, I guess. I think this is where all the best players, they show up and they show out. And I'm not saying I'm one of those best players. I just want to be looked at as such.
You've denied it before, but is playoff Jimmy a thing? Are you ready to?
It's not a thing. It's not. I just be hooping.
Rajon Rondo says the same thing. All right, JJ, were you more impressed with Jimmy in the Heat or disappointed in the Bucks?
I was more impressed with Jimmy in the Heat.
Yeah.
It's not every day that you get to see a playoff performance like that. Jimmy was absolutely sensational. A couple things on him. Number one, he has basically, since he got to Miami for the last 4 seasons, he shot 26% from 3 on less than 2 attempts a game. He has basically said, unless it's the end of the shot clock, I'm not shooting a 3. And then all of a sudden we get to the playoffs with Miami, and this series in particular, and he shoots 3s, and he's making them at a good clip. I mean, we've got a pretty big sample size, 143 attempts over the last 4 seasons in the playoffs, and he's shooting 36%. That's interesting to me. My argument with Jimmy right now, we don't think of him as a top 5 player. I don't know where he ranks amongst, NBA elite players, but he was a top 5 player last year in the playoffs. He's been a top 5 player this year in the playoffs. That, to me, is more impressive than a 4 or 5 minute stretch of bad offense from the Bucks. Because I think the Bucks ultimately have been hurt from not having Giannis for, call it, 3 games.
Yeah.
And the anomaly in this entire series that nobody's talking about, everybody's talking about Giannis being out, everybody's talking about Jimmy's play. The Miami Heat were an awful 3-point shooting team in the regular season. Awful. It's the reason they underperformed. Bam had a decent year, Tyler Hero had a decent year, Jimmy had a great year. They could not make 3s this year. And now all of a sudden we're 4 games in, and they're shooting 47% from 3. This was the 27th worst team in the regular season for shooting 3s. That to me has been the difference in the series. So give Miami credit, give them their shooters credit, and give Jimmy Butler credit.
Well, go ahead. Let me go first, because a couple of things. Number one, I found myself rooting for the Miami Heat.
We know why. We know why.
I believe the Knicks could take them.
Do you?
Let me finish.
Was that your main reason for winning with
finish.
Miami? Come on.
May I
Say that
finish?
with your chest
May I finish?
No, we have Western Conference.
Okay. Right. We have Western Conference. I was thinking, but that would be a semifinal series. I could find a way to get to Miami for a couple of games. But the point is this. I found myself before last night rooting for Miami. Go ahead and win the series. Because we can't deal with Giannis. We deal with Miami. Then I saw Jimmy Butler put on that kind of performance, and it gave me the impression that he wants New York, that the Knicks are next. And I've grown very, very concerned about that in that regard. And then I'm thinking about the 3-point shooting for them this year. And then I'm looking at these stats. I got them in front of me for these playoffs. Jimmy Butler is shooting 52.9% from 3-point range. Caleb Martin is shooting 46.7% from 3-point range. Duncan Robinson is shooting 76.5% from 3-point range.